Hello, my name is Sachin Vaidya and I'm a database solutions architect at AWS. Today we are going to talk about how Oracle Standard Edition can be used to create and use your Oracle databases for your applications. As you may be knowing, Oracle Standard Edition now comes as a Standard Edition 2 for Oracle 12c, 18c and 19c. It still comes as a Standard Edition or SE for Oracle 11g. So what is a standard edition of Oracle database? It is a database RDBMS engine with all core features of the Oracle database included in it. We will look at what core features are included with this edition. When you think about standard edition, a common misconception is that it is not suitable for supporting enterprise class workloads or features. In reality, it has many features that your application may be using but under expensive enterprise or other editions. So it may be possible to use standard edition in place of enterprise edition and save on cost for many of your applications. When standard edition of Oracle database is implemented with Amazon RDS service, many important features and capabilities such as backups, high availability, point-in-time recoveries are added to the AC2 databases. With these additional service features, AC2 or Standard Edition 2 databases become an attractive option for the enterprise workloads. So let's get started and look into the details of running Standard Edition on Oracle in Amazon RDS. Rethinking Oracle Standard Edition 2 database on Amazon RDS for Oracle. Before we look into the features of Oracle SE2 on RDS, let's look at Amazon RDS and understand which database engines can it support and what services are offered under RDS managed service. Let's get an overview of Amazon RDS service. It is a relational database service that is managed and is available for choice of 6 popular database engines. It is available for Amazon Aurora, MySQL, PostgreSQL, MariaDB, and Microsoft SQL Server, as well as for Oracle. In case of Oracle, it is available for Enterprise Edition and for the Standard Edition. The major features of Amazon RDS service are easy to administer, meaning it is very easy to provision an RDS database within few minutes with the OS and the database software that you want, and have the built-in monitoring also provided with the database. The data in your database is always encrypted at rest and also in transit using SSL, and it meets all industry compliance and assurance programs and assures that your data will remain secure at all times. It is also highly available and durable using automatic multi-easy database configuration that uses synchronous replication to keep 2 copies of the database in 2 availability zone in synchronization, and they can be failed over if one of the instance fails. Also, there are automated backups and manual snapshots available, which can then be used to retain the data as long as you want. To monitor the database, we have Amazon CloudWatch available in Amazon RDS, as well as OEM can also be used to monitor the RDS Oracle database. There is a minimal downtime for your application when the database instance has to be scaled. The storage can be auto-scaled, but the CPU and the memory can also be scaled in or scale out depending upon your need with a minimal downtime. When a database server is provisioned and hosted on-prem, then all of the responsibilities and operations required to maintain the operating system and the database software on that server, as well as the database, the high availability of the database, backups, scaling, all of these responsibilities fall upon the customer or your team. When such database server is moved into Amazon Cloud on EC2, Amazon provisions the server and then also installs the operating system on that server. After that, the root access is provided to the customer, and then customer can then apply the patches to the operating system and install the database software, as well as maintain the database by taking database backups and by handling high availability and scaling. In case of RDS service, if the database is moved into Amazon RDS, then Amazon not only provisions the server, but it also maintains the operating system, installs the correct database software, patches the database software, as well as maintains the database by taking automated backups and providing high availability with scaling in and out as your demand varies. So your team can now focus on application optimization and performance of the application, and then provide the best experience for your end users. When provisioning RDS Oracle database with Amazon RDS service, you have two options to secure the licenses for running Oracle database. First option is where the license is included with the price of the RDS service. There is no need to purchase separate Oracle licenses for running this database. The support for this database is also handled through AWS services. The second option is to bring your own license that you have directly purchased from Oracle. Maybe you are using it for running a database on-prem. Then those licenses can also be brought over to Amazon and used to run the Oracle database in Amazon RDS. In this particular case, since the licenses are purchased from Oracle, the support is also goes through the Oracle support. For Oracle Standard Edition, both options are available, and because of license included option, it is very easy to quickly provision a Standard Edition database in Amazon RDS. Once you choose to use Oracle Standard Edition 2, then you have two choices to host it in AWS. It can be a simple Oracle SC2, which may be running on an EC2 server or a bare metal box, or Oracle SC2 can be run in our Amazon RDS managed service. The core capabilities remain the same, which come from Oracle Standard Edition 2 for all the tables, indexes, data pump, RMAN, and all other features. But the high availability feature that is not available on simple Oracle SC2 on EC2 server is available in a multi-AZ configuration for Amazon RDS when it is running Oracle Standard Edition 2. You can set up two databases, as one as being primary and other one being standby, and the automatic failover is then possible if the primary database fails or if the availability zone in which that primary database is running becomes unavailable. As far as encryption is concerned, there is no encryption available in Oracle Standard Edition 2 for the data at rest, while it is available for data in transit using Oracle native network encryption and SSL and TLS security. In case of Amazon RDS though, we have Amazon KMS available, in which either Amazon generated key or the customer generated key can be stored and be used to encrypt the data at rest. And of course, Oracle NNE and SSL TLS is available for encrypting the data in transit. For monitoring and tuning, there are no direct tools available like Diagnostic Pack that is available in Enterprise Edition is not available in Standard Edition 2. But Oracle StatsPack is available, which can be used to run the report for analysis. If you run the Standard Edition 2 on Amazon RDS, then you can use Amazon CloudWatch for monitoring, as well as Amazon Performance Insights with enhanced monitoring is available to dive deep into the tuning data of the Oracle Standard Edition 2 database. And of course, StatsPack diagnostic reports are available as they are on the Oracle SC2 running on EC2 server. For backups, there are no direct automated backups available. When you run Oracle Standard Edition 2 on EC2, you will have to write the scripts, test them and then implement them to perform regular backups. But in Amazon RDS, automated backups are available, which can be retained up to 35 days, and on-demand backups can be taken using Amazon RDS snapshots, and those can be retained up to for unlimited time. There are no automated backups available in Standard Edition 2 when it is running on EC2 server to create the backup and store it at the remote location for DR purposes. But in Amazon RDS, Amazon cross-region automated backups are available to support the DR objectives, meaning your backups can be copied automatically from your primary region to the target region where it can be restored in case of a disaster recovery. Let us look at feature comparison of RDS Oracle for Enterprise Edition and for Standard Edition 2. The standard DBMS features or database features such as tables, indexes, constraints, views, SQLite, data pump, RMAN, PL/SQL procedures, all of those are available in both editions, Enterprise and Standard Edition 2. There is a link on the screen in which the actual Oracle licensing and the options and packages offered under each edition are described. In RDS, automatic backups of the RDS database, Enterprise as well as Standard Edition can be scheduled on a regular basis to run daily, and the backups can be retained up to 35 days. On-demand backups can also be taken whenever needed, and those snapshots then can be retained to up to unlimited time for any purpose that you may have for those backups. Cross-region automated backups, in which the snapshots are copied along with the archive logs to the another region, is also available in both editions to support the DR configurations. The backups would be taken, the full backups or the full copy of the database would be taken using the snapshots, and the archive logs will be copied and then copied to another region where they can be used to recover the database to point in time. The point-in-time recovery for these automated backups or cross-region automated backups can be done from up to 35 days to up to last 5 minutes, which means that archive logs are copied every 5 minutes to the backup, and up to that point, anytime the point-in-time recovery can be done. Also, there is a multi-AZ configuration for databases running using RDS Oracle Enterprise Edition and the Standard Edition 2. And in this case, the replication takes place at the storage level using synchronous replication, and two databases are running at the same time in two multiple or different availability zones. At a time, only one database is available for use of application, and the database can fail over to the standby database if there is a failure in the primary database. Continuing our discussion of comparison of features, for RDS Oracle Enterprise Edition, the database activity stream and Oracle Data Guard that is available is not there in Standard Edition 2 of RDS Oracle. The Data Guard can be used for the mounted replicas of the database, and Oracle Active Data Guard can be used to create read replicas of the primary database, and that feature is not available in Oracle Standard Edition 2 databases. For encryption, which is an important feature that every customer wants to know about, is available in both editions. The data at rest can be encrypted using TDE or AWS KMS native encryption that is available in Enterprise Edition. But on the Standard Edition side, TDE is not available. So AWS KMS encryption, which is the native encryption, can be used to encrypt the database. For database data in transit in Standard Edition, Oracle Native Network Encryption or SSL TLS certificate security can be implemented to encrypt the data while it is in transit from database to the client connections. For tuning, there are various tools available. One is enhanced monitoring, and in that you are able to collect statistics at low intervals of few seconds every few seconds which gives you detailed data for performance analysis. Also, performance insights is available in which various metrics related particularly to the database performance are monitored and are displayed into the console, using which you can drill down into the details of each and every SQL statement that is running and look at the execution plans and tune them to tune the database. On the same lines, there are CloudWatch and OEM available as monitoring tools. The CloudWatch is a native AWS service using which you can monitor the AWS instance that is running the database and look at the CPU utilization, storage utilization, and memory utilization and determine the bottlenecks for your database performance. Similarly, Oracle Enterprise Manager can be installed on-prem or into AWS, and Oracle Enterprise Manager agent can be installed onto the RDS database instance in both Enterprise Edition and in Standard Edition too. The diagnostic and tuning pack is available only in Oracle Enterprise Edition, and that provides the AWR repository which collects the snapshots of the database with all the performance metrics. In case of RDS Oracle Standard Edition 2, this same metrics is collected using StatsPack snapshots, and StatPack diagnostic reports are available to get the details of the performance of the database. SQL plan management is available in Enterprise Edition using SQL-T, and multiple different methods, outlines as well as baselines are available to pin the execution plans of the SQL statements to have a consistent performance. Same facility is also available, same feature is also available in Oracle Standard Edition 2, but the use of baselines is limited to 1 per SQL statement. Now let us look at the high availability and disaster recovery configuration in both Oracle Enterprise Edition and Standard Edition 2. We measure these both features using two measures. One is RPO, which is recovery point objective, meaning how much data would be lost when recovered through the option that is given below. And then RTO is a recovery time objective, is how long it is going to take to recover this data. So in first option, the multi-AZ for high availability, in this case, there are two databases running at all times, and the replication is performed at the storage level synchronously. At a time, only one database out of these two is available for the application, and second database continuously remains in sync with the primary database. When the failure occurs in the primary database, the database fails over and the secondary database becomes primary, and immediately your application can resume the operation again. In this case, there is a zero data loss as the replication is performed synchronously at the storage level. The recovery time is up to 1 to 2 minutes while the primary database goes down and the standby database takes over the operation of the primary database. In case of snapshot restore, it is a snapshot that is taken as a point in time. So in that case, depending upon when the snapshot was taken, the RPO can be hours, but the recovery is much faster, and within less than an hour, that snapshot can be restored into another Oracle instance, and the database can become available, no matter what the size of the database is. This is accomplished using a lazy restore, meaning that the database is restored with important components and is made available to the application, and rest of the database, that is the larger data files, keep on restoring in background, but the database is immediately available for the application to work. And as data is required by application to process, it is brought in from the snapshot that are in S3 to the RDS instance. The point-in-time restore within the same region can happen within hours, but the data lost would be only last 5 minutes. As we mentioned before, archive logs are copied in every 5 minutes to the S3 backup, and thus there is no data loss beyond 5 minutes if the recovery is done in point in time any time between 5 minutes to up to 35 days. But in case of cross-region point-in-time recovery, the recovery point objective or the data loss can be up to 25 minutes, could be from 5 minutes to 25 minutes, depending upon how long it took or how long it took to copy all the archive logs and files to the another region, which could be thousands of miles away. Our customers are always asking for help with transitioning from RDS Oracle Enterprise Edition to the Standard Edition 2. There are various articles and scripts available to do that. First one is the script that is offered by Oracle support in that document on the screen, options and packs usage statistics.sql. When this script is run, it shows you what actual options and packages are being used in the database. Using that, you can determine whether you are using all the options in Enterprise Edition that you have licensed for, or can you use Standard Edition 2 and make the use of features and options in Standard Edition to run your application. After determining that, there will be certain features that may not be available in Standard Edition. One of those is Oracle partitioning. In the partitioning of the tables that is available in Enterprise Edition, similar feature can be implemented in Oracle Standard Edition 2 using the subtables in place of partitions and then creating a view on top of those tables and then writing some triggers which would then control the DML statements hitting that particular table. The link on the screen shows a blog article which explains in detail this particular option of using partitioning in Standard Edition 2. The next link that is there on the screen talks about the performance management and analysis in Standard Edition 2. It shows you how to use the performance insights and the enhanced monitoring to gather the information that you need to monitor the performance and how to use SQL T package to run the execution statements and find the plans for the various SQL statements and how to tune them. The last link on the screen points you to the article that explains SQL plan management in Oracle Standard Edition 2. In this article, we explain how to transfer the stored outlines and baselines from your Enterprise Edition database to the Standard Edition database and how they can be used to pin the execution plans for your SQL statement in your database, Standard Edition 2 database, to have a consistent performance for those SQL statements. Using these tools and scripts and articles, you make use of most of the features in Standard Edition 2 to run your application successfully. For migrating on-prem Oracle databases to AWS RDS Oracle in Enterprise Edition or in Standard Edition 2, there are various tools available to migrate these databases either to the RDS platform or to the EC2 platform. Oracle Data Pump can be used like Oracle Export Import as well, and the export of the database can be imported via S3 over to the RDS database. Oracle Materialized Views can be used to refresh the materialized views in the target database to migrate the Oracle database. Similarly, Oracle Golden Gate can be implemented to transfer the data from the source database of source Oracle database from on-prem over to the target RDS database or EC2, Oracle on EC2 database. Similarly, SQL Loader can be used to load the text files of the data from a source database to the target database. And we also have AWS Data Migration Service available, which is similar to Golden Gate, but it can be set up quickly and it is much cheaper to use to transfer the data from source database to the target database over the network. You can get all the information about AWS DMS service in AWS documentation. To summarize, we looked at Amazon RDS services and what options they have to implement in different database engines. as well as we looked at the licensing options of license included and license that can be brought in from on-prem over to the AWS. Oracle Standard Edition 2 can be run either in an EC2 instance or it can be run under RDS. And then we looked at the capabilities and the features that are added when it is run under RDS. Also, we looked at the features of two Oracle database editions, which are Enterprise Edition and Standard Edition 2, and compared their features. And you must have noticed that there are a lot of features that are common in both editions, which may be useful to run your application. Then we looked at different high availability and DR configuration and what kind of RPO and RTO that you should expect. We also looked at the migration strategy and at some of the helpful documents through those links that would be helpful in migrating your Oracle database over to Amazon. Then now we are going to look at the demonstration of Amazon RDS when it is running Oracle Standard Edition 2. Now let us look at a demonstration of how to set up RDS Oracle EC2 database in a multi-AZ configuration, how to add options to the RDS Oracle EC2 database, and then we will see how to automate the backups as well as how to change the parameters of the in the init.ora of the RDS Oracle EC2 database. Then authentication for the database can be password or it could be Kerberos based. Then there are some additional options in which you can have database name that you can choose, or it will choose a default name which is ORCL, which is what we are going to keep at this point. And then there is a default parameter group which is which has parameters suitable for the instance that you chose, as well as option group which gives you some features of the AC2, and then you can have add some more features to that option group, which we will look up next, and that is how you can get the additional features in AC2 version. You can also choose various types of character sets that are available, and we will go with the standard AL32 UTF-8 character set. Here we have ability to set up the automatic backups. It is not required, but it is highly recommended to set up the automatic backups. You can choose the backup retention from 0 days to up to 35 days in this dialog box, and accordingly your backups will be retained for those many days for to perform the point in time recovery. The backup window can be it's run daily, and you can specify a specific window during the 24 hours to run your backups, and also apply the tags to the snapshots. Those will be created with the with a particular tag that you may want to use for business reasons. Then backup replication is also possible, and in that case the backups and the snapshot and the archive logs would be replicated to another region. This is particularly important for the DR configuration, and there also backups can be retained for up to 35 days. Backups can also be encrypted using the AWS KMS encryption, and in that case the key the one that is already created can be used, and or a customer can bring in their own key and set up that in KMS to use in this database encryption, and the encryption um, um, then will be implemented there. Here I have my own key set up in this account that would be used for these purposes. Then we can use the performance insights and enable that over here. Here we can give the retention period for the performance data, and it can be retained up to 2 years, as well as you can specify the again the master key for the encryption of the performance data. And enhanced monitoring can also be selected over here, in which case the standard interval or the period for collecting the metrics can be changed from 60 seconds to up to 1 second, which would be applicable or useful to collect certain metrics for performance monitoring. So that enhanced monitoring can also be enabled here. And then there is a selection box to select the logs that you may want to view from the database instance in your RDS console window. So you can choose to view the alert log, listener log, or any logs that all of these logs that you may want to view in the console. You can do that. Then there is ability to set up the minor version upgrade, in which case database would be automatically upgraded to the next version, like the fifth digit of the version or the release update of the version. And for that, you can also specify a maintenance window in which you may want to have this particular upgrade being done. And for production databases, we can have enable the deletion protection, in which case nobody would be able to delete the database without confirming that they want to create the last snapshot and they want to permanently delete the database, and without that dialog box they won't be able to delete the database. And below that you can see the estimated cost of the database. And now, since we have chosen the license included option, this cost includes the licensing cost of this Oracle Standard Edition 2 database with the options that we have chosen with the provision IOPS or the GPM, general purpose SSD, and the multi-AZ instance that which needs a second instance to be provisioned in the another availability zone. So all of those costs are added here and available for your review before you create the database. So with this, we would create the database and then we will look at the configuration of the database. So now our database is instance is created, database is created. So let's look at some details. Here is the endpoint of the database that is used to be used as a host name in your TNS names. The port is here. In the configuration, the name of the database, the size of the database that is provisioned, the type of server that you have, and how much CPU and memory that it has, all those details are there. It is a multi-AZ database, and this secondary database is in 1B zone, and this one is in 1C. Primary is in 1C zone as of now. As well as we can look at the monitoring that will show different CloudWatch monitoring metrics like CPUs and connections. Right now, there is nothing running in this database, but some activity that is recorded is visible over here. And then the logs and the backup information would be available under these tabs, which would give you the schedule for the backup and what is enabled, whether the minor version upgrade is enabled, and all that information. Okay, so now let's look at the options and the parameters. In options group, I have this option group here, which is created specially from the default AC2 options. I called it my AC2 group. And in that, I can add other options that would increase the capability of, uh, of Oracle AC2, the database that I have provisioned. So if I go to the add option, uh, over here, it will show us under what version, which is the latest version that we are going to use here is 19.2 V2 V1. And then under that, we will have several options to add to this AC2 AC2 edition functionality, which are like Apex development and the OEM agent and all that will get installed, as well as SQLT, StatsPack. All of these features can then be added to the option, and this option group will need to be added to the database, and the database will need to either um, be restarted for some of the options, and based on that, then it will be applied, and then that database will be capable of having that functionality. On similar lines, for parameter groups, the same thing happens is that you pick the standard parameter or default parameter by choosing the correct version of the engine that you are working with. And based on that, a private parameter group is created. You can give the name to it as your parameter group. And uh, then the parameters in that particular group can be modified and then that parameter group can be applied to the database. Now, as you must be already knowing, many of the Oracle parameters need database to be restarted. So in those cases, actually the configuration of the database will show that the database needs to be rebooted or restarted for those parameters to be applied. As you can see here, there are various parameters that are available, and there are default values, what are the allowed values, all that information is available, and those who are modifiable, that is equal to true, then those can be set up, and accordingly the parameter group can be saved. And once the parameter is changed in the group, then that group needs to be applied to the database to make them effective. So the process of managing standard edition to database is very similar to enterprise edition. Same process for adding the options, same process for adding the parameters and applying them to the database. So you can use Oracle Standard Edition to replace your Oracle Enterprise Edition database if all the options and features that it supports are what your application can work with uh, and support your business purpose for that particular application. Thank you for watching this video. We hope that you have noted differences between Oracle Standard Edition and Enterprise Edition and will choose to use AC2 to run your application while saving the cost. Thank you for your time.